Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of GNERD Corner's Spotlight. And I'm here with a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are and exactly what you do?
Sure. Now, I'm gonna use announcer voice to introduce myself, then I'll talk to you with a normal voice. But I am the Baron of Badassery, the Lord of Laser Tag, the Captain of Cosplay, the Geek Gatsby, Bernie Bregman of Nerds Like Us.
Fantastic.
And I'll stop sounding like a movie phone announcer. In a world gripped with fear. Anyway.
Oh yeah, when I do my like announcement voice, it sort of sounds like Yu-Gi-Oh. So.
Perfect.
No, but tell the listening and viewing audience exactly what is Nerds Like Us.
Well, so Nerds Like Us is a production company that I founded. I officially incorporated it into a business in 2010, but I really been doing events longer than that. But basically, since 2010, I've been producing events. I wanted something that invoked the ideals of my company, which is inclusion, and a place for nerds, you know, kind of a for us, by us kind of a thing. Some people, when they look at the title, it's Nerds Like Us or Nerds Who Are Like Us. And it's Nerds Who Are Like Us. It's a place where you can meet other people like you with the same, interests and ideals and things like that. And I really wanted it to be something that was different than what we were being offered at the time. Now, this is 2010, really before the explosion of some of our, now almost oversaturated marketplace of things to do for our type of people. But at the time, we were the first people bringing a lot of these kinds of things to the table. So I created a midnight movie series that was specifically nerd culture, nerd genre. So stuff that we all revere, a lot of the things that are mentioned per se in Ready Player One and stuff like that, which kind of speaks to, what I was going for in that niche audience. So things like Ghostbusters and Goonies and Back to the Future and Hook and Beetlejuice and Hocus Pocus and all that kind of stuff. Weird Science, Real Genius. So we would show those once a month at midnight, huge crowds, and create that kind of same buzz as today when we go, see the premiere of, or the opening night of, the next Marvel film or Justice League or the newest Star Wars edition, where, you're going to get a lot of really rabid fans that are going to show up. Some people will be in costume. There's a lot of energy, and it's really cool. And for a lot of us, we either weren't alive at all to have seen some of these things on the big screen, or were too young to really enjoy that experience. So it really created a unique moment with some of these films that were really pivotal to a lot of people's upbringing. And it's neat, to watch Goonies and have everybody on pins and needles when they're at the organ, playing the bone organ, before they, get to go to where One-Eyed Willie ship is and down the water slides, or people that are just like dying at, Ferris Bueller's jokes, like the Sausage King of Chicago bit, I'm Abe Froman. So stuff like that is so super fun, you get this synergy of the crowd and the moment and the film and the nostalgia, and it's awesome. So we started with that, produced Rocky Horror Picture Show conventions, produced nerd nightclubs and after parties for conventions. Been doing that for about 5 years now. In that time, we've achieved a lot of really cool milestones. Last year, Legion M tapped us to produce Stan Lee's birthday party, his 95th birthday party, which was following up his handprint ceremony at the world-famous Chinese Theater in Hollywood on the Walk of Fame.
Yeah, some friends go to that, too.
Yeah.
Thanks to you.
Yeah. And then that was just an insane event. Like, we really settled on being a part of that about 35 to 40 days out of it. And so I built that thing in 35 to 40 days, put in 150 hours of work into making that thing. And that venue, that house, which was the house that was mapped for Tony Stark's house in Iron Man, FYI, guys, a little Hollywood movie magic. There is no place in Malibu that looks like that. It doesn't exist. They took the Malibu cliffside and they combined it with a house that exists in Hollywood, and that's what it is. It's on the Hollywood hillside. If you're driving north on Fairfax or La Brea, you can see it sticking off the hillside. It's pretty cool. But anyway, we use that house. It's the Electric Court house. And it's actually really just a big empty place. They have like a couple of office chairs and tables. We brought everything into that, like built that from scratch.
Wow.
So that DJ table that you saw, that was a barbecue. That's
Really?
their outdoor barbecue. Yeah, that stone top, that's their outdoor barbecue. And I just hid the actual grill part and built a truss on top of the barbecue. And then obviously we brought in the band stage and all the vendors and things like that. But the inside too, all the furniture and everything, that was all handpicked, rented out, brought in for that. And we just built that thing from start to finish. It was a lot of fun.
So
Last
basically,
year,
you're an event planner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's definitely part of what we do. Whether it's consulting or full production, we do it all. And we can do, obviously, house parties. We do big venue events. So last year we also had the Black Eyed Peas played our Halloween Comic-Con party after Los Angeles Comic-Con.
Nice.
And that's at the club, the Novo, formerly Club Nokia in LA Live downtown. And we've thrown big events at the Globe Theater and all sorts of places. We have 2 huge San Diego Comic-Con parties coming up in a month. One of them's already sold out. We sold out in 8 days. Ready Party 1, which is going to be an immersive Ready Player 1 inspired, video game 80s nostalgia trip.
Yeah, so I got your Power Glove.
Yep, I got the Power Glove. I got the 2 Nintendo Zappers. And that one is going to be at Flux, which is a beautiful nightclub in downtown San Diego, literally 2 blocks from the convention center. So it's going to be perfect. And Ready Party 1 is also a play on the fact that we will be the first party of San Diego Comic-Con because nobody does a Wednesday party. No one has. We're going to be the first to ever do that. So it's very exciting. And the fact that it's already sold out is just so incredibly touching that the response was that strong to the message that our marketing presented and the trust in the brands that I brought together to do it. And it's not just Nerds Like Us. I put together a team that I'm just really, really happy about to do this thing. I work with different groups all the time that I love working with. I love working with Legion M. I love working with that hashtag show and with Los Angeles Comic-Con and all these other groups, Fan Guru. But this event, I wanted a particular partnership. And there were people that I thought had some experience together, and it'd be really cool to bring them all together to form this group. And so it's Nerds Like Us, Nerdbot Media, Damn Good Shindig, and the Flux Capacitors. So the Flux Capacitors are the official Back to the Future band. They were seen on the documentary Back in Time on Netflix.
Yep.
And they're phenomenal. They have like 7 hours of pristine 80s, 90s, and a little bit of 70s music that they just can knock out at the drop of a hat. And they play like, huge corporate gigs and cruise ships all over the country. They're super cool. I actually discovered them 2 months after they got together and started rehearsing, and they were doing kind of a test thing, literally playing my friend's backyard party, like before they were doing gigs. And I found them then, and I was like, oh, I love you guys. Dressed as the Back to the Future characters, playing 80 songs is brilliant. And here we are like 4 or 5 years later, and they're amazing, and I'm always happy to have them be a part of it. And I thought Flux at Flux would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
Plus, they're perfect with the Ready Player One theme. And then Damn Good Shindig does incredible immersive experiences. They've done pop-up bars all over the country. Those dark side bars that popped up in DC, New York, and LA. They did those. And they've tackled a bunch of different themes. And so having them be a part of it, ensures we're going to have an amazing visual experience. And then Nerdbot is phenomenal. I mean, they do Anime Pasadena. They do Nerdbot Con. they've got a really phenomenal, huge, very energetic and excitable team, and that means you can accomplish a lot when you have that many people working for a common cause. So it's a great group. And then that's the Wednesday night party. We just launched tickets for a Thursday night Comic-Con party called Throwback and Dance. It's going to be a 90s throwback.
Nice.
And we're partnered with Super News and The Machine and Fan Guru, and Dante Basco, who was Rufio in the film Hook, and Prince Zuko in Avatar: The Last Airbender, will be the featured DJ of the night. Dante and I collaborated last year on that party. He's DJ'd a couple of my parties, and he's really great and a lot of fun, and he's got this awesome modernized DJ Rufio outfit that was created for him by Chad Hatter. And it's when he first he called me, he's like, dude, I've been DJing. I would love to DJ like some kind of a Comic-Con party. You do stuff like that, right? And I'm like, that's exactly what I do, Dante. So you want to play my party? He's like, yeah, that'd be dope. I'm like, okay, but you gotta DJ as Rufio. And immediately I envisioned an LED Tri-Hawk. And I'm like, dude, we're going to get you an outfit, and we're going to get an LED Tri-Hawk. And it's going to light up and do some crazy shit, because I know some really talented people that can do that stuff. And literally, like, the first conversation, that was part of the thought. So then I talked to Chad Hatter, and we started talking about what the outfit might look like. And he designed that thing from start to finish. I reached out to Pixel Arts Props and Miss Chrissy Lynn to collab on the light up wig. And DJ Rufio. There you go. So tickets are on sale for that one. 100 sold real quick in the first couple of days since we launched. So definitely people should grab those quickly. But, there's always something coming up. I'm going to do an after party at Comic-Con Palm Springs. I'm talking with Los Angeles Comic-Con about what we want to do this year. I've, been contacted by all sorts of people. And it's, dude, what a time to be a nerd.
Yeah, makes me wish I could be in Cali.
Right? I mean, well, no, we're really anywhere. And I got to tell you, like, Phoenix Comic-Con is one of my absolute favorite events of the year. And I am dying to, work together with Square Egg to come up with a real solid after-party program that involves some of these elements that I've been able to bring to other places. So hopefully we can get working on that. I've chatted with them a bunch. I wanted to give them a good, 30 days of post-mortem on their event, and then we'll get to planning something. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they also have now a couple other conventions, including Vegas Fan Fusion coming up.
Yep, absolutely, sure do. So I would love to become a staple with them. I think they're a great company, and we can definitely bring a lot to the table for each other. So I think it'd be really cool, and I love the fan base in Phoenix so much. I post in the Blue Ribbon Army Facebook group all the time. Because the fans out there are just really, really good people. Like, they're so gracious and they're so conscientious. And I literally have never had a bad interaction the 4 or 5 years that I've gone to that con. And I think that everyone out there is just really, really awesome.
We try. We're really hot currently, so we're just in our houses or in our pools trying to stay away from the heat. So
everyone's in bathing suit version of their characters?
Pretty much. Like, we did have, like, a bathing suit cosplay photo shoot the other day with some other cosplayers and photographers. So,
nice.
Summer lasts for us, like, 5 months here. So, it's a long summer. And, yeah, if you're not used to the heat, you'll die.
You're in the desert. I mean,
yeah,
kind of goes with the territory, right?
It does, which is weird when you actually find a giant, like, lake in the middle of the desert in Tempe, and you're like, why is this here?
Absolutely.
Now, I know you've been to several movie premieres recently. Can you tell the viewers those about the movie premieres, and how'd you get the invite for those things?
Sure. So in what I've been, doing for the last several years, I've built a lot of really great relationships and connections. And a lot of it, honestly, it's just a matter of if you treat people well and you take care of people, and, you give everybody your all, and, you just, if you treat people well, it comes back to you, and that's really what it comes down to. Is I have some really great relationships, and those relationships know that I'll come through for them, and they know that I can find, I've never failed them in quality. So when they have certain needs, particularly in the cosplay world, they know I'm the person to go to. And so when they're looking to fill the fan pit at a Marvel, Disney, Star Wars release, there's also all sorts of groups that they can contact, and they do contact some of those groups, but they also know that if they contact me, they're going to get, whatever quantity they ask me for of like just fantastic looking characters to fill that fan pit up, and not just with look, but also with people like who are going to have a really strong emotional reaction, which is fantastic. Each of the 3 times I've gotten to go so far, we've had definite tearful moments with someone meeting an icon that they dress up as, and I freaking live for those moments. Those are the coolest moments ever. Like, I grew up in LA, and in the industry a bit. I did commercials when I was a kid. My great grandfather was the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, and wow. My great uncle produced the Academy Awards I think four times. And so I've been around that kind of stuff, and I'm not necessarily like desensitized to it, but like I'm always gonna talk to them a certain way and come at them a certain way whenever I meet celebrities. But for someone that hasn't had that same contact and is gonna like, it's the trembling or the tears, like and like they've never gotten to do something like that, and that's like a once in a lifetime moment for a lot of people. It's so just heartwarming to watch. We did the Infinity War premiere, which was super special on a number of levels. So I brought a couple of people out that had never gotten to do something like that before. Christina Ariel, who just recently moved out to LA from Georgia. So she like got like the full Hollywood experience, and she came out dressed as Captain Marvel. She got to meet and hug Brie Larson, and like everybody, really from all that premiere had like everybody from every Marvel film except Chris Evans is performing on stage, I think in New York, so he wasn't there, but like pretty much everybody else was there, so that was neat. I had Brianna DeCoster Utahimi cosplay, and she was dressed as Gamora, and Zoe Saldana sees her and comes up, and Zoe is like almost in tears and like reaching out to touch her face because she's got the perfect, and she's like, oh my god, you're so perfect, and like Brianna's like, I don't know what to do, and I'm in shock and frozen, and then like as soon as they kept it together with the stars, and as soon as they're gone, just the tears came. And it was super, super cool. And then we did the solo premiere. And my one friend, Ashley, she cosplays as basically everything, every character that Amelia's ever done. So Khaleesi, and I think she does Terminator Genesis also, and definitely Kira from Solo. So everything she's done, and so they got to meet, and there's this awesome photo of Ash hugging Emilia Clarke and just like bawling. And it was beautiful. So yesterday, got to do the premiere of Ant-Man and the Wasp. This was the smallest one I've been to yet. The Star Wars ones are huge, and all the 501st and Rebel Legion guys and all that are all out there, and they do like 2 banisters so that the stars walk through basically the red carpet, and there's fans on either side that they can interact with. And Infinity War was like that. This was a really, really small 2 banisters of fans. I populated like half of that with costume characters, and we had a whole bunch of Ant-Men, and a couple of Wasps, but Wasp is harder because this is the first full look of the Wasp costume. We were able to find 2 people that have done the new Wasp costume, and a couple of classic Wasps as well, and it was really cool. All the stars were super gracious yesterday. There was some odd other sightings, like, because it's not with Infinity War, it involves everyone and all the films like built up to that, so you get that that's kind of a family reunion. With the Ant-Man and the Wasp, it was I didn't expect to see people that weren't in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but there were a couple of people. So David Hasselhoff was there.
Wow.
He's in that Guardians of the Galaxy video. The Gunns were there. Sean Gunn and James Gunn were there. James Gunn literally looked like he fell out of bed, taking a nap after finishing the script for Guardians 3, and then rolled up onto the carpet. Who else is there? Rooker was there. Michael Rooker was there.
He's a nice guy. I've met that guy like 3 times already.
He's great.
Nice. He's so nice.
Karen Gillan, the most perfect woman in the world, she was there.
And she's tall. When I first met her,
she's very tall.
I'm only like 5'9", and she's like right over my head.
Yep. So she was there. And then obviously all the cast of Ant-Man and the Wasp, except for Michael Pena. Missed him. I was really sad to miss him. I was going to get him to do a bumper for NerdBot Media. But I did get Sean Gunn to do a bumper. That was really cool. And then they were all great. Like, Paul Rudd literally made sure he did the entire fan banister. Like, took every photo, signed everything. And people were trying to move him, and he's like, yeah, just 2 more minutes. And he got through the thing. He was super, super cool. Evangeline Lilly also gave us a lot of great time. I
saw the photo with all you guys and Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah, that was a good one. And everyone was great. Dave Desmalchin, who's the Russian guy, one of the ex-cons, he's great. He's big on MacGyver and Gotham and stuff. Who else was super fan friendly? I'm trying to remember. Someone else came out that was awesome. Sean Gunn definitely came over. Peyton Reed was really cool, the director. And Ghost, I can't remember her name, but Ghost was really cool.
Yeah, she was on, what was that? Killjoys, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It was sci-fi's Killjoys. I keep forgetting the actress's name, but yeah.
Yeah, she was fantastic in the film, though. It was really great. Oh, Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer was there. She was awesome.
Yeah, she looks good for her age. Wow.
Dude, she's still stunning.
I mean, I don't know, because I've only seen pictures of the premiere and of some video, but how did she look like in person? I mean, has she looked...
She looks great.
Yeah.
She looks fantastic. Although, I have to tell you, not just... so, I got a really cool call a few months ago, right the night before, 2 nights before the Academy Awards, and they wanted to arrange basically a social media moment for Black Panther, and this is after it had been out for like a month and a half. So they told me some Black Panther cast are going to reunite at this theater. We would like you to host it and get the word out, and fill the theater with Black Panther fans. But you can't say anything. You can't say someone's appearing. You have to just hint and whatever. But people know that stars show up to my events, and if I'm hinting at something, you should probably show up. Yep. And so, and I didn't know exactly who it was. I knew Lupita Nyong'o would be there, and that she was the one kind of requesting or setting this up, but I didn't know anything past that. And then we had her, we had Denai Guerrera, and we had Angela Bassett. So all the ladies of Wakanda minus Shuri, and it was really, really cool. And then also saw all of them again on the Infinity War red carpet, except for Lupita. But I will tell you, Angela Bassett is the most beautiful 6-year-old woman that has ever walked the face of this earth. Anyway, there you go. Those are a lot of fun, great fan interactions. Getting to see the movie in advance is really cool. I don't want to spoil anything about Ant-Man, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. I will tell you that the Infinity War screening was even more special because nobody had seen it, not even anyone that worked on it. Wow. No one had seen it in its entirety until that night. Literally all the stars, everything, we all saw it at the same time. Robert Downey gave a really great speech. They had 10 years of Marvel on a stage. I hope that video makes it to the internet somewhere, because he gave a great speech. It was really cool. It was so neat to be there for that. But also the 10 people that I was able to bring to that screening, we basically had this like brother and sisterhood, because we could only talk to each other about it for like 4 days.
Yeah.
And it was so emotional and so big.
And so crying still.
Yeah, just everything. But how? But why? But maybe this? Like, what about that?
Yeah.
Like, and it was just to have those reactions, and like we literally all sat down for dinner across the street and we were just like, what the? It was great.
You can swear on here. Most of my audience is adults, so
okay.
And they're old enough. Most of my audience is old enough to drink. But quickly back to Ant-Man and the Wasp. I know you can't say anything, and I know I have a lot of reviewers as friends that have an embargo out until I think tomorrow morning or something like that. But tell me, is it better than the first one, or does it live up to the first one?
I will say it lives up to the first one. I think there's a lot of things at play. So in the first one, they need to introduce you to a lot more than in most of the Marvel origin stories, I think. Especially because they chose to go with Scott Lang instead of Hank Pym. Mm-hmm. So there's explaining an extra character, and then you also have this, this dynamic with Hank, and then you have the subplot with Janet's disappearance that builds some of the character arc for Hope and Hank, and then you have his whole family to deal with. In this one, how do I say this without spoiling anything? Well, I won't spoil any plot, but I'll just say that there's they didn't have to give a lot of backstory, right? Like Ghost needs a backstory, and then Hank's former associate needs a backstory, which is Lawrence Fishburne's character, and that's about it. Everything else is like, great, we know these characters, we can just do another story with them. And so because they weren't bound by that, I think it hits with a lot of stuff quicker, has a quicker build up into action. The comedy is really good. It's really, really good. Michael Pena just crushed it again. And then, the where Ant-Man is really neat, like where he is mentally, because this takes place after Civil War, but before Infinity War. And so the way they fill the gaps in for you on how did Ant-Man even get to Civil War, and then what's he done since then, and also the reference in Infinity War about Scott and Clint took the plea deals or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's fleshed out for you, and so it was interesting because I've thought a lot about the timing of the release, and I'm like, why are they going to release Ant-Man and the Wasp prior or after Infinity War if it's going to take place before? And I think it was actually brilliant. I think that this is the movie we need after Infinity War. It's
kind of a cool down.
After all those emotions and everything, there are some great emotional moments. I shed a tear at one point in the film. It has just a great range, but it's definitely a good palate cleanser for post-Infinity War.
And I know that you posted last night, and also then today you posted on. You kind of teased this last night, but about the interaction with some of the stars of Ant-Man.
So, depending on how they do screenings at Hollywood, there's two very famous theaters on Hollywood Boulevard: the El Capitan and the Chinese Theater. Mm-hmm. And for both Infinity War and Solo, because there were so many people and huge fan groups and triple the amount of stars as we had last night. They put the stars in the much smaller El Capitan, and then they put the rest of us, which includes a lot of people that were involved in making the film, a lot of the digital effects artists and animators, and set and prop and marketing and all that stuff. So a lot of the crew and everything is in the theater with us, but the stars are over in the El Cap. So we're in the Chinese, which is probably the most famous theater in the world. And which is awesome. But the previous 2 times we were separated. This time we were not, because the premiere was a little bit smaller. The build was really cool. If you saw the pictures with the Ant-Man over the building, they also had like a street that was like getting dug up from underneath, like a lamp pole that was tilted over, and like the street is bursting because, you know, maybe Ant-Man had gone under it and popped it up or something like that. So that was a cool scene with a bus bench that you could take a photo at. Then there was an oversized coffee cup with sugar cubes around it and a giant spoon, so that you look small when you take the photo next to it.
That's cool.
And just really cool activation stuff. There's a vehicle that's in the film, and they had that vehicle on display in the tent. We couldn't get to it, but we could shoot the vehicle on our way to the theater. In any case, all the stars were watching with us, so I put my, we're waiting in that fan pit like a good 3 hours in the sun, no bathroom breaks. So I wanted to put my helmet, my gloves down at my seat, which was actually all the way in the front row. And this is an old theater, so you just enter from the back, and you have to go down, and then you hit a level, and then you go down further until you hit the ground in the front row. So then I had to go all the way back up in order to get to the lobby, then go down another back set of stairs to the restroom. On my way up, I started passing Lawrence Fishburne and T.I. and Dave DeSmalchin, and I was like, oh, the stars are in our theater. Cool. And then it made sense because they try and shoo us in early and then the stars in later, so it's easier and you have less like interaction and stuff like that, and just get to the film. So I go downstairs to use the restroom, and I see Kevin Feige, and he's wrapping up, and I just ignored him and went to the urinal stall. And then while I'm standing there, facing forward as you do, I hear, "Holy smokes, he looks just like you." And it's very obviously Michael Douglas, like that. You can't miss that voice. And I turn over and I kind of giggled at it at first, and I knew obviously Paul Rudd was next to him because he wouldn't have said he looks just like you. And then and Michael Douglas says, that must be weird for you. And Paul Rudd is like, weird for me, it must be weird for him. I'm an ass. And at that point, I look over and like, so we're all sitting there using the urinals, just looking over at each other. It was a very funny moment. And then I had a nice little chat with Paul Rudd as we were washing our hands. And I was like, yeah, I've been getting call outs of, looking like a handful of people at certain angles and things like, but since overnight delivery, I've gotten told that I look like you, and maybe more so when you started going with the more stubbly looks in role models and such. And he's like, wow, I didn't know anyone saw Overnight Delivery. I'm like, man, I think that is a hidden gem of comedy. It's a great movie. And he, he's like, well, look, hey, thanks for coming out, and you look great. Thanks for dressing up, and I hope we did the character and the story arc justice for you. So. There you go.
That's epic. That's an epic moment. Too bad you didn't have that recorded, or at least the audio recorded, or something to that effect.
Oh, one of the things that they do when you get invited to a world premiere is that they have these little pouches, security pouches, and you put your phone in, and it's magnetically sealed throughout the film, and you can't open it till after. So there is no way to catch moments like that.
Only you will remember that moment.
With my connections, I could totally hide a device somewhere in there and then retrieve it when I go in. I'll figure that out.
Maybe somewhere in your prison pocket somewhere.
Right. No. You hide something along with a filled battery charger so that you can get it some juice. And you hide something in there, and then you go like 2 days before and see a movie, and then you just stow it in a corner.
Yeah, when you told me that you passed by Kevin Feige, I would have stopped for a second and just said one word, shook his hand, and go, legend.
I've met Feige maybe 4 or 5 times at this point, so it's it's a little bit, it's like, it's not like, oh my god, it's Kevin Feige, but I mean, still, he's absolutely amazing what he's done with weaving that universe together.
Oh yeah, not just that, but just being able to sustain that universe. I know recently there have been rumors surrounding, Star Wars and everything, and secret meetings behind the scenes. Um, and Feige is one of those type of people that they go to and go, so what do we do? You seem to be keeping the Marvel universe stable. What do we do? So,
I mean, at some point he's going to be stretched too thin. I imagine he's got to be close to it now. Although with the help of brilliant people like the Russos and James Gunn, like Marvel's in pretty great hands. Man, DC could sure use Feige, and Star Wars could definitely use a little bit of help. So I don't think Star Wars is that far off, to be honest with you. I think that what we saw with the hate that Solo got, I think that's an example of toxic fandom and gatekeeping.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bunch of whiny ass jerk offs in our fandom that are like, well, it's not my sacred original trilogy, so F you guys. Like, screw you guys. Like, I remember growing up where we didn't have any more content, and I'm freaking ecstatic that we continue to get content, every year for each of these different fandoms. And I would rather have that than have another, 20 years before I get more Star Wars. So to the people that are like the freaking hipster Star Wars fans, like, screw you guys. You guys are terrible for the fandom, and I would love it if you exited. Was Solo a necessary film? No, it wasn't necessary. We didn't need a Han Solo backstory. Was it fun? Yeah, it was great freaking fun. Fucking enjoy it. Like, there's just so much negativity and hate in the world that it bothers me when, our fandom friends are, gatekeepers and jerks. Like, just enjoy what you have. It's better to have than not have.
Yeah, true. There's toxic fans and fandom in almost everything that that's popular. So
sure, absolutely.
And unfortunately, when it comes to like franchises like this, I have to edit that part out. It can really affect that franchise if bad, word of mouth gets out there by these so-called fans. And I saw Solo. It's a good movie, but I think the management of currently of the Star Wars universe, I think Kathleen Kennedy needs to hire a lieutenant, and Dave Filoni should be hired. I don't know why Bob Iger hasn't even gone by and said, you know what, I loved what you did with the Clone Wars series and all the other animated series.
Well, but here's the thing, though. The flaw with that is that, yes, Filoni hit a home run with the Clone Wars. That doesn't mean that he can or is the right person to manage the live action and understand the different nuances in something on that scale and with humans and not animators. And he might be, but it's just not a guaranteed deal. And we don't really know what the shortcoming is there, But there definitely needs to be at least a little bit of a shakeup. But at the same time, like, I don't even want to say that. I think The Force Awakens was really good. I think The Last Jedi was still enjoyable. I would have made different choices if I had the reins, but I don't hate the choices that they made. It's one acceptable way to have gone. It's just not the way I would have preferred. But all these people that rage quit or want to talk about how horrible it is, these are the asshole Star Wars fans that drove George Lucas away from his own franchise. He literally said, screw it, I'll just sell it. I don't want to deal with you assholes anymore. These are the assholes that drove Daisy Ridley and Kelly Tran off of Instagram. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, seriously, what was up with that?
Fuck you guys. Like, seriously. And if anyone is watching that feels that way, here's a big fat finger for you for being awful, toxic fans. Get out. We don't need you in Star Wars. Our fandom's better than you.
Yeah, definitely. That's just being an ass to, not just to the people that are starring these movies, but to the rest of the fans that really love these films and want to see these films succeed so that we get more of them.
Yep.
And I know they just recently put the Star Wars story films on hold until they try to figure out what to do from now on. I think that they're still going for.
I think they're going forward. It's just about how do they go forward.
Yeah.
And I do think everyone. It's funny because for as much as people didn't necessarily want to see a Solo, they do want to see Lando, and they do want to see a Boba Fett. Everyone's wanted to see a Boba Fett movie.
Oh, don't forget about Obi-Wan. I heard.
And Obi-Wan,
yeah.
yes. Yeah. Obi-Wan would be cool.
Definitely. Now, we've talked a lot about the events you've been to, but we need to talk about your persona, and your cosplay as well.
Cool. Where do you want to start?
Let's see. When did you first start cosplaying?
So I used to do the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and that's probably the best place to start. And it's very similar. And in a lot of ways, Rocky Horror Picture Show is cosplay on a whole higher other level because you're actually performing and acting out as the characters. And in a lot of ways, Rocky Horror was an inspiration for cosplay. Yes, you can trace cosplay's roots back to science fiction conventions in the 40s, but if we're being real, it really kind of became a thing sort of in the Trek cons of the 70s, but really in the 80s was when it hit. Rocky Horror has been around since 75, and people jumping in front of the screen and being the character and all that kind of stuff. And so I would go to cons to promote Rocky as one of my Rocky Horror characters, and pass out flyers and stuff, and other shows that we would do. And so I was familiar with it, and I was like, oh, this could be a cool thing. But Rocky is a very demanding hobby, and that was all I really had time for at the time. And then I got married in 2010, and it was time to move past Rocky, and I had done everything I could do. Produced the 35th anniversary convention that year, and it was the biggest, baddest Rocky Horror convention still to this day. Nice. It was the first time Barry Bostwick had come to a con in like 15 years. Lou Adler was there for the first time in a long time. And it was all these different venues, and it was a crazy big thing. And I was like, cool, that's a good note to leave on. And then I was like, well, what am I going to do? And my wife was a costume designer, and we're no longer married, but she's a wonderful person and an incredible designer. And I would recommend everyone go check out Castle Corsetry. A lot of you may be familiar with it already. And so we would go to cons as her business was building to kind of advertise and show her work, and so she'd make awesome costumes, and she would make me a costume, and show what her versatility was. And that was kind of the start of it. And I was like, so this is kind of cool, but like I don't know if I'm gonna like totally jump into this. But there's one character I want to do, and if we can find a way to do that, then and by way to do that I mean she could clearly make the costume, but I needed someone to help me with a prop that was very important. I'm like, if I can do this one character and like fully be the character, because like I want to perform and entertain, then I'll totally jump into this hobby. And that was Dark Helmet from Spaceballs. And the first year I did it was 2012. And it blew up. I was like the front page of Reddit for 4 days. It was all over the place. Mel Brooks shared it out. I think Rick Moranis might have retweeted it. It was all over the place. It was so cool. And everywhere I went at San Diego Comic-Con, it was like the floor sucked in on wherever I was. And I couldn't move like more than 5 feet every 20 minutes. And it was a lot of fun, and like I literally was quoting the movie all day long, and I was like, all right, this is kind of fun. But for me, cosplay is it's another method of performing. It's finding a different stage. Everyone can cosplay however they want. Never yuck another person's yum. So let somebody do whatever they want to do, whether or not it's the way that you would do it or the way that you enjoy it. It's not about you. It's about them. Exactly. Right? So for me, I like characters that are they're like, so some people just like to make the costume. Some people like to be models in the costume. And then some people like to full on be the characters. I'm part 3. I like to be the character. So I pick characters that are going to be fun and that I can be. In some cases, they're an extension of my personality. In other cases, they're a complete departure because that'll be interesting. I do love big personalities. I love loud, sassy, fun, zany characters. So I do a lot of those. Dark Helmet's one. Mugatu from Zoolander is another one. where I'll sass everybody all day long. I recently incorporated my friend Chad Hatter. He walks around with a hand fan a lot, and he'll just like drop the fan very loudly and start fanning himself, or like say a quip and drop the fan and walk away. Nice. And so I borrowed his shtick at Phoenix as Mugatu. And I'd walk around and I'd look at someone in some big costume and I'd just be like, "You are so extra!" Like, super fun. And I love the performance aspect of that. And I'm ready with like any of his signature lines. I'll talk about someone's fashion. I'll talk about the pleats in their gown, like a fashionista would. Ace Ventura is another one that I do. And I'm always ready when someone goes, "Ace!" And I'm like, "Yeah, Satan? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were someone else." Like, any of his signature lines. Anytime someone asks me a question, I'm ready with the bit of dialogue when he's in the car with Dan Marino. And I go, "That's a rather personal question, and I'll thank you to stay out of my affairs." Like, so ready with all that kind of stuff. Caesar Flickerman from the Hunger Games is another one I do.
Oh, yeah. That was the first time I met you, is you were Caesar.
Yep, that was 2015 Phoenix Comic-Con. Or was it the Amazing? Because I did Caesar at both of those.
I think I met you at Phoenix first.
Okay. So that was May of 2015. And then I do Zorg from Fifth Element. He's also another like just wacky character. And then I also like to do characters that are like an extension of me, like Tony Stark. Like I throw all the parties and stuff. So Stark's a great one for that. And my persona, my stage persona is the Geek Gatsby, because I'm the party throwing guy, not because I have any interest in ending up face down in a pool at the end of any of those parties, but for sure at the Stan Lee party, since there was a pool, there was a running bet amongst Legion M about when Bernie was going to end up in the pool. Thankfully, it didn't happen. But yeah, I love stuff like that. I don't do a ton of traditional characters. Doctor Strange and Ant-Man are two of the more traditional characters that I do. But they're also not mainstream if you think about it. When you think of Marvel, Doctor Strange and Ant-Man are not they're not one of the first 5 characters you would name. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I like that. I like the uniqueness of that. When I was literally the first movie accurate Doctor Strange to hit the cosplay scene. When those first 4 production stills came out with like Benedict Cumberbatch jumping in the air with Chiwetel Ejiofor, we took that, and it turns out I got to take some really great detail shots of the actual movie costumes, and I put those online, so a lot of people got those from my shots. My costume was made before that, so it does need some updating for accuracy, but it's gorgeous. And I was there at San Diego Comic-Con in the fully accurate movie costume on day 1, ready to go. So, but I like that he's different. Doctor Strange is a very different kind of Marvel character and hero. And so he's fun. And then I've been compared to Paul Rudd for a lot of my life. So Ant-Man, as soon as Paul Rudd was cast as Ant-Man, I'm like, I have to do that. I'm also noticing here something that is in my friend's place where I'm at right now, and that is a hand fan.
Nice.
Anyway.
All right. We're getting to the end of our interview, but before we finish, is there anything you would like to pimp out? Your page, website, any upcoming events that you'll be at?
Yeah, so a couple of things, guys. If you love the fact that nerd parties exist, please support mine. And help us go everywhere. We are the most experienced, the most organized group that does this with a track record that nobody else can match. And so the best thing that you could do if you want to have something like what we've talked about happen near you is let your local convention producers know that you want the Geek Gatsby and Nerds Like Us to roll up in and throw a party like the ones that you guys may see online. Even if you live far off and you can't attend one of the events, break those crappy Facebook algorithms by clicking going, even if you're not. because then it shows that event to more people. More people become interested and share it to their friends that are in the area it's going to be. So you're helping even if you're not actually going to be there, and that means the world to me. Like, all you got to do is click going and share it out. That's it. It bonus points if you actively invite like 10, 20 people, whatever. But just clicking going just shows it to so many more people because it looks like a cool can't miss thing, and it kind of always is. So you can go to Nerds Like Us and find the events. Ready Party 1, sharing it out is still cool and helpful, but we don't have tickets left. But definitely would love it if you shared the event for Throwback and Dance. It's hosted on the Super News Live Facebook event page, but it's shared out on Nerds Like Us. And you'll see it on my timeline, and it's shared out on the Geek Gatsby, and I'll be dropping it for all of you Arizona folks. I will drop that event in the Blue Ribbon Army Facebook group either tonight or tomorrow. I don't ever want to spam that group. I love that group, and I already dropped the live feed from Ant-Man in there so you guys could see that. If you want to check out the live feed from Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's in the Blue Ribbon Army Facebook group, and click the like and comment in it because it brings it up for everybody else to see, and then you guys can see what it's like to be at a Hollywood red carpet, and that's why I posted it in there. But I've got midnight movie events coming up in Hollywood. We have Child's Play 30th anniversary this Friday. Writer-director Tom Holland is appearing, and we're putting his handprints in cement. Next week, we have the Rocky Horror Picture Show in Hollywood, and Barry Bostwick, who played Brad Majors, is going to be there. And we're going to put his handprints in the cement, and that's going to be pretty cool. And then I've got a Batman and Batman Returns double feature in 3 weeks in Hollywood, and so forth and so on. So follow my Instagram at Nerds Like Us and at the Geek Gatsby. Follow both, please. Nerds Like Us is where I post more event stuff, and Geek Gatsby is where I post more me and cosplay being an idiot. And since everyone likes the internet for watching other people make asses of themselves, please support me making an ass of myself. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for your continued support, and I absolutely love doing these things. I'm here for your entertainment, and I will always be.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I will make sure to have all the links below the video so you can click on those or copy and paste and find where all those sites and events will be at.
Very cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Bernie, for being on GNERD Corner's Spotlight tonight. And thank you for all the viewers as well for tuning in. Please check out all his pages and like them if you haven't already. And go to all his parties and events because they're awesome. I've never been there, but I've had friends tell me they're awesome. So,
are you going to San Diego Comic-Con?
No, I'm not going to San Diego this year.
You know what you should do is go to, like, you guys are not a far drive from Palm Springs, and I'll be doing an after party for Palm Springs Comic-Con in the end of August. So check that one out. That'll be fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. And remember to enjoy your chimichanga.
I like tacos.
All right.